Danfo offers unparalleled, curated, and bespoke tours across Africa for travelers seeking genuine cultural experiences, enriched with magnificent sights, sounds, and flavors found on the continent. Each trip is reliably curated to ensure visitors are gifted with an immersive and authentic adventure. Whether you find yourself strolling along the charming white sand beaches of Sierra Leone, feasting on the mouth-watering delicious foods in Senegal, observing or partaking in various aspects of the Isheshi traditional system Ifa native to Yoruba land, Nigeria, with Danfo, you will rediscover a fulfilling sense of kinship to the true heart of the motherland, her communities. Our core values focus on integrity, quality, safety, and sustainability. We are uniquely committed to assisting with the advancement of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danfo, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danfo, Africa. To learn more, visit danfo.africa.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you hit that like button again. Please hit that like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Got a couple of announcements. We are rolling to. Yeah, it's his name is Very Dark Man. His name is Very Dark Man. We are rolling to Cape Town, March 25th through April 2nd. March 25th through April 2nd for the Cape Town Jazz Festival. If you're interested in joining us, please visit donfo.africa. Again, if you're interested in joining us, please visit donfo.africa to learn more. Again, we are rolling to Cape Town, the Jazz Festival. If you're interested in joining us, please visit donfo.africa to learn more. I don't really admire his narratives, which aren't so much different from what you would get from racists. I'm not really too familiar with Very Dark Man. In fact, what we'll do, we'll pull up a couple of his videos. I know he got in a fight with somebody somewhere. Yeah, but I'm not really I'm not too familiar with him. I mean, I'm familiar with him, but I'm not really familiar with his content. There you go. Because I never really listened to his actual videos. But yeah, but no, the point that he was making, a lot of people are making this argument. And guys, I'll put the link in the chat room. If you want to call in after the convo, you're more than welcome to call in after the convo. Again, if you want to call in after the convo, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. But see, his argument really doesn't. I mean, outside of Morocco, I guess you could say Morocco's developed. I've never been to Algeria. Libya is no longer because of the what happened to Gaddafi. So yeah, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. I've never been to Tunisia. What other countries are in North Africa? And then you have South Africa, but we know the story behind South Africa. So what he's saying is the majority of the black African countries, they're not developed. They're not developing. They're not developed. You have a host of issues. Infrastructure is lacking. And he's saying this is a product of black African countries. But like I said, I've never been to Tunisia, never been to Algeria. We know Libya is pretty much done. And in South Africa, I mean, we know why South Africa is developed. But Senegal is pretty. I would say Senegal is developed. In fact, we're going to Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. If you're interested in joining us, visit Downfall Africa, May 9th through the 18th. But the Senegal is developed. Hold on, let me get Ben in here. Go ahead, Ben.
Hey,
Ben,
what's going on?
you got to turn off the playback.
All right, hold on a second. Oh, I did reduce the mic noise. Not sure why.
Hello?
Is it echoing?
Hello? 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 No, Ben, unmute yourself. It's probably an echo. Yeah, it's an
All
echo.
right.
You got an echo, Ben.
It's still echoing?
Yes. And your phone's ringing now. All right, go ahead, Nigel.
Thanks for having me, Diners. And yeah, salute to everyone. Yeah, I saw that video. A very dark man in Nigeria is asking that question. I think, yeah, he does look like that, doesn't he? But there are reasons for why it is like that. Black African countries are uniquely poor, uniquely underdeveloped, uniquely underdefended compared to other parts of the world. And if you didn't know better, you say, yes, we are cursed. My suspicion, from what I see in the patterns, if you look at the way South Africa is behaving, you look at the way Zimbabwe behaves, and to an extent, Algeria and this in Angola, these countries fought. They fought their way to independence. These are the countries that generally fought in Africa seriously to their way to independence, and not that long ago. And they tend to express more independence from anybody, really. They don't want anybody to tell them what to do. And you can see that all the other countries, they tend to have carried out a ceremony of independence, handed over power to people that they groomed. So you just like those leaders, they are like, how do I put it? You know, for want of a better word, it's not nice, but like servants that were just handed the keys to the house, and they don't have the spirit, they don't have the geopolitical know-how to navigate it. They don't have the steel to be able to build a good nation. Hence, whenever they go out there, they get undermined. I remember when they said DRC, that when they handed over power to them, they were barely any educated DRC politicians at that time. Their military was just ragtag. They were barely trained at all. They just created a ragtag nation and expected them to fly. And they didn't give them much of an assistance. They barely educated them too. So they handicapped many of our nations even before they emerged. And those nations, even when they created Pan-Africanists, the Pan-Africanists, you can only know as much as you have been exposed to. Look at Sankara, look at Lumumba, look at the Sekoture, all those ones. The level of awareness they have just wasn't enough. Even Kwame Nkrumah, it wasn't enough for them to be able to really, really dig in, like people like Castro, that was able to dig in and say, you know what, we're going to survive this. But they just didn't know enough. They, especially about security, they barely knew anything about it. And because of it, when they became powerful, they didn't do enough about security. They didn't do a lot of strategic alliances. They didn't do many of those things that they needed to do. Hence, they fell very easily. And then the nations that you see today are a kind of legacy of that remnants. And sometimes when I look at some African streets, especially Nigeria, I'm like, what is wrong with us? We can't even arrange to get our streets clean sometimes properly. It's now that it's beginning to change. The truth is that something is happening on the continent now. Make no mistake, something is happening. Things are beginning to develop. This is what even iShowSpeed is beginning to see and reveal to people in Africa. But my goodness, it took a long time, and I don't know whether it can be stopped, because we were developed once. Like Nigeria was doing very, very well in the 70s and early 80s. And by the time we got to the 90s, late 80s, 90s, everything went to pot again. So we are rising now, but it doesn't mean we are going to sustain that rise. And the reason why we cannot sustain it, because we have not changed something very vital, which is our security posture. If we don't change it, all this stuff that we have gained, they can just come and erase it, like the way they came over, you know, after the Berlin conference. And that what that guy is saying there is just the truth of our situation. If you go to like Benin, you know, when I was in Nigeria, I took public transport. Went to Benin. Benin was one of the greatest empires in West Africa.
No, are you saying Edo or Benin?
Edo.
Okay.
Edo. Yeah, it was one of the greatest empires in West Africa. But it's a shadow of itself today. Barely developed, debts everywhere. You see people pack rubbish and put it anywhere. You go to some parts of Nigeria, it's like, is there nobody who is running this place? Because to be fair, some of the things that they can do, it doesn't even require money. Just organization. It tells you how disorganized we are. All you go to even VI, like VI or VG, this Ikoyi, this Lekki, that you think, okay, these are the rich people in Nigeria. But if you go to their areas, some even common areas in the West would do better than them in terms of the way they maintain their infrastructure, the roads, the drainage system, and all the rest of it. They do better than them. It tells you that something is off within our nations. We are inefficiently run, poorly financed. Our nations, like Nigeria's national budget for last year was around $28 billion. How can you $28 billion? How can you clean a city with that? $28 billion is nothing compared to what they spend in the West. California's healthcare budget is more than 200 billion. So you see, Africans are uniquely anemic in the resources that they are using to govern themselves. Personally, I actually think they are overperforming given what they have access to, the finance they have access to. They barely have access to proper financing like the way Western nations do. I remember talking about this year during the year of the COVID-19, when all the G20 nations gave themselves $17 trillion worth of funding. And I was saying, this is a weapon. Because this type of funding, we don't have access to it. Why would they just be able to print 17 trillion and their currency doesn't lose value? Because they call it a loan. And we don't have access to such loans. How can we build anything when you don't even have the money? This is the problem. And our leaders are not fighting this thing because they don't have the balls to fight it, because it's just too hard. Because our people are not even ready. If any leader tries to do that right now, the people will call him Hitler. They'll call him all kinds of stuff. And they will do everything to remove that leader from office. That's the truth. Our people are not ready. So that is what you're experiencing. And what that guy is saying is something anybody that looks in Africa, they will be wondering what is going on here. The only light at the end of the tunnel is that there is something happening. I can see some change. Things are improving, maybe because of the rise of China, because China is doing a lot of business with African nations. So there is hope there, but I understand what Very Dark Man is saying. That is something any Nigerian will tell you that they understand. Thank you.
My bad, Ben, you there?
Yeah. Is it still echoing?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, great. Looking at the title, that's when you use the word like curse, that's a religious description, and I wouldn't use that term. I would say that you can see an association between nations with Black people and nations that are not doing well compared to other nations. And why is that? I think it's a combination of evolution and the lack of contact that Africans of sub-Saharan Africans had with the known world during the time of enlightenment. So it's a combination of many factors, but to say black skin, are African countries with black skin cursed? That's like a religious interpretation, so that's my take on it.
All right, go ahead, Kofi.
Peace, everybody. Yeah, I felt the same when I felt trapped in the United States, and I couldn't really relate to people anymore, especially within the Black community. And I feel like we're cursed if we don't go back on our own will. Pretty much like the story has been told for us. We kidnapped you, we brought you here, and then that's it. The only thing only thing you ever had was being a slave. So I feel like that had to have been undue. So going back on my own will, then I'm like witnessing people treating me like I'm wealthy, like I'm rich, but in my head I'm poor. I ain't nothing. I ain't shit. But it was the African people, it was the Ghanaian people who said like, no, you are something. You do have value. We do love you, and we are depending on you. I think if every country in Africa allows, you know, travel and borderless travel, I believe that the newcomers would feel a sort of energy, and they'll feel a sense of pride, and they feel a sense of purpose. So I believe if you are stuck in your country and you are stuck to like all those norms and the status quo, all you have to do is just travel to a new place. And the way I feel about Ghana, yes, you have your African Americans. We're like 1%. You have your populations of Ghanaians, whether people from the north speaking Hausa, and the Onzongo, and people along the coast, the Ewe, the Ga. I feel like Ghana isn't alive really without the Nigerians coming to, without the Liberians coming to, but mainly the Nigerian population coming to. I feel like, okay, if every country in Africa has a small population of Nigerians, that reminds me of what Black America is to the United States. We need to sort of have this like borderless Africa, and I believe that's when the curses will be broken. But if you're stuck, if you feel stuck within a very familiar place, if you're stuck within the borders that the Europeans created, that's when you're gonna feel cursed. I don't think there could be any change without movement and migration. And I think a solution is the camera. Without I show speed being on camera, we would not have witnessed this country to country travel that we're seeing. And him being in Egypt, right, is very controversial, because here you have this black guy who's kind of debunking the whitewashed version of what Egypt is. And he's like, okay, what happened to the noses? Of course, they cut off their noses to spite their face. And he kept on asking, okay, where did these boats go? Where did these ships go? You have to mention, the other parts of the Nile, which is highly melanin, the Sudan, Uganda, Egypt, Ethiopia. You can't really have the Nile without having sub-Saharan or the black part of Africa a part of the story. And I think Africa needs to become the same melting pot that the United States has become. Africa needs that. Africa needs a melting pot, not only for its citizens and the diaspora, but I believe for the world, if they're hip to it.
Mm.
And I believe that's how we could end this curse.
Yeah, I think there is some progress in that area too, which is what I was saying, that there is progress in terms of having people move together. Like West Africa now, in December, just this past December, 10th of December, they passed a law, a kind of ruling to remove airfare tickets, because this ticketing.
To Niger, you know what? While you guys are talking, I'm gonna look up the prices. The prices looking they're now. Is it just flying within ECOWAS countries, or even if you're coming from a non-ECOWAS country to an ECOWAS country?
I think it has to include not coming from ECOWAS nation.
I'm telling you, these tickets are still nah. In fact, I would say Delta got even more expensive going to Nigeria.
From my end, I just did some checks recently,
Oh no,
and
but
it
hold on. Let
was a
me.
bit cheaper. I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
like because I have to look for tickets from Nigeria to Ivory Coast anyway. So I'm about to look it up right now, and I'm gonna let you know. Go
Mm.
ahead.
That is a big thing actually. I even did a show about that last year. That if the government was able to reduce the ticket fares the way European countries, I've seen these people in Europe travel with £5 to another country. That is crazy. It's even more expensive than local transport, cheaper than local transport. I mean, if the airfare is reduced, like African Americans can travel to Africa half the price that they are doing now from the UK, you will see many
Nah,
of
the
those people travel
dude. Hey,
more.
hey, hey. These tickets these prices haven't reduced. I know these people are full of it. Listen,
Yeah,
the fly round trip from Lagos to Abidjan, Air Cote d'Ivoire, round trip is $830.
oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
they haven't. I knew they were.
Yeah, but maybe
Yeah,
it hasn't kicked in
oh
because
man,
they said it
it was
to reduce the
supposed to
price
kick in.
by
It's
almost
supposed to
40.
kick in on the first, I think,
Yeah,
or the sixth.
4th of January. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
4th
yeah.
of
These people
January.
aren't serious.
but
Hey,
the
Yeah.
Dennis,
way the
how
tickets are, you would want to stay for like a year or more. Go ahead.
how quickly are you looking for the travel though? Like, is it within a week and it's that
That's
high,
in
or is that?
that's in May. That's in May.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I see Dinas is very interested in this because I have
Yeah,
a
because I
question
mean,
with this thing.
it's ridiculous. Like just to fly 2 countries or so, to fly 2 countries over, it's $830
Yeah,
round trip.
it's awful. It's
That's
awful.
great. I can get a flight right now, Roland Morocco, from New York to Senegal, same price round trip, 800 bucks.
Mm. And Africa is practically the only part of the world this is happening to. I don't know about South America, but it's basically Africa. Most parts of the world you can navigate relatively cheaply. But Africa, going into Africa is so expensive, and coming out of Africa is so expensive. Within Africa, it's also very expensive. It's like and these are things that our leaders have control over. You see, these are some of the things we should be pushing them to do because I don't know why they are busy chasing the little tax that they're going to collect instead of welcoming people that are going to come and spend money and maybe even invest within their nations. Because if you reduce ticket by 50%, you're going to get more than 50% increase in foot traffic coming to your country, and they are going to come and spend money. They are going to come and invest. I don't understand why African countries they just kind of put the shutters up. Because I know for sure if it was cheaper, I would be going to Nigeria a lot more. You see what I mean? I don't understand that.
When the cost of fuel, when the cost of maintenance become cheaper, right? When you buy a car on the African continent, it's even more than a car in the United States. And the fuel is the same. I'm paying the same fuel it takes to fuel up a car in the United States. So when these things become cheaper, then travel will become cheaper. I believe we need to refine our own fuel like Don Gotti, and we need to build our own planes, and we need to build our own ships. We need to build our own cars, which is very possible. I saw a guy build his car in 2 weeks in Uganda.
That's
So
true, but the fuel is not the reason why the price is high. It's the ticketing and the arrangement they have with the European countries because you have to have some kind of agreement, MOU, that will enable both sides to be a kind of offsetting the cost. This is how European countries do it. The Asian countries, I don't understand how somebody can be able to travel from London to China a lot cheaper than traveling from London to this in Nigeria, when China is almost twice the distance. So that kind of stuff needs to. We as Africans need to push our leader because that's easy lift, isn't it? You're just telling them make it easier for our people to be able to come to the continent and leave the continent. People it's just common sense, but they refuse to do it. And it's not only one country, it's all of them. They are all at it. Why is it that one cannot just say, you know what, let me do it? Because if one of them does it, it means that most Africans or black people that want to come to Africa will travel to that country as a stopping point to get into other parts of the continent. But no, not even one nation. They say if you want to go to Egypt, if you want to go to Morocco from the UK, it's a lot cheaper, at least 2 to 3 times cheaper than going to Nigeria from the UK. And Morocco is not that far from this is Senegal. But try to fly to Senegal from Morocco. You will see how suddenly the price will shoot up. Or you try to leave from the UK to Senegal, the price will just shoot up again. So the entire thing is just a sham. And by road, it's almost impossible to. But while you can drive from London to Morocco, but you can't drive from Morocco to Senegal, the route is there, but it's just dangerous. Everything is designed to keep sub-Saharan Africans where they are, and at the same time, even our visa access to the rest of the world is limited by that compared to any other part of the world. Sub-Saharan Africans are the most limited people from traveling. It's just, how can we survive like this? It's like we are being squeezed, and this is why when that guy asked whether we are cursed, if you look at everything we are doing in this world, it's like we are walking to our own extinction. We are being squeezed, and this is not normal. So other people in other parts of the world, they can get up in the morning and get on a plane and travel, but Africans can't do that. Even to fellow African countries, sometimes they can't even do that. They can't see greener pastures easily. And we have a lot of young people. Our leaders need to do better. At least, like the Kofio said, we should be able to travel within the continent. That's within our own control. But even that is tricky. Even that little thing is tricky, and it begs the question: are we cursed? How can we not even do that one? It's only Kenya, South Africa, and if I'm not mistaken, Nigeria that talked about visa-free entry for Africans. The rest, what are they waiting for? Why are our people not questioning the leader? What are you waiting for? Why have you not done it? You just leave. You don't want to trade with fellow African countries, and you just maintain the barriers as if you are building a castle of poverty. Many of them, they are afraid of Nigerians because they will think, oh my God, if we open this stuff, Nigerians will fill the whole country. They are afraid of each other within the continent, but they are fine with people from outside the continent coming in. That kind of behavior, if we carry on like that, we are just self-harming. We are self-harming ourselves, basically. That's what we are doing on that continent. Everything we do seems to be geared towards ensuring that we remain poor and it kind of not being able to aspire. It's just so obvious. I talked about this last year about that ticketing pricing issue, and that's when I discovered that it was mostly tax. It was mostly tax, and our leaders not being able to negotiate good deals with this in foreign airlines and foreign countries to be able to reciprocate cheap airfares. All they need is one country to do it well, and you'll find that many Africans will be able to travel from the diaspora with half the price that they can do today.
Hey, Tunaj, let me pass the mic to Johnny. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'll keep it short because I actually think this is a conversation that's kind of more, for y'all, I guess, and I just kind of will listen. But I guess my question would be, how can they develop constitutions that can withstand corruption? Because I think that's what it all keeps boiling down to. And if there's like a template for that, then other places can follow, and it might be more prosperity in that way. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I mean, I hear what you're saying about the infrastructure and everything, and then and the travel, but like a lot of people are skimming off the top too. So can they do anything about that? You were saying security, I forgot how you said it, but you basically saying like the military and everyone needs to be armed and put more into power, more strong. But we all know that the leaders are fearing their militaries being strong because if they were strong and organized, they might overthrow them. So, like, what would you say could be a possible solution to something like that?
See, where we are right now, it doesn't matter whether they overthrow you or not. Any smart leader will know that a knife is a knife. If you have a strong knife, better than have a knife that it cannot even cut a soft cheese. The point is that you have strong military, whether they bring you down or not. And generally, what you find is that when you have a reasonable size security force, they don't tend to bring the governments down. They tend to actually focus on their job. If you look at the rest of the world, if you have a healthy sized military that are professional, they don't tend to bring their government down. Remember, in Turkey, they tried to do it. It failed because the military was too large. Because by the time one division says they are not going to comply, it's a civil war. You will fail. But our leaders, they think that when you keep it small, it's going to somehow be their salvation. If anything, it's making us far more vulnerable. No other part of the world is that underdefended. We can't keep remaining like that and expect things to be, be fine.
So what can they do? I mean, is it just up to the leaders, or is there other politicians that can put something in place that says, that the military needs to be at a certain, uh, should be able to have certain capabilities,
On paper, is the leaders, but I think it's also the people, because the people don't sympathize with what the leader wants to do. They will not agree with the leader doing what the leader is doing. Some of them will be like, "Oh, what are you trying to do? He's trying to grab power. He's trying to be dictator." All kinds of different things, and you don't even know. And sometimes it might be difficult. Let's say you want to fight insecurity and you have to do some ruthless things. The people will not, they will not sympathize with you. They will not like you
well,
spending that much money on those things.
when you say like ruthless things, what do you mean by that though? Because I mean, people don't want to go without, and they don't want to see money that they think is being wasted. So
Yeah, sometimes let's say there's an operation, you have to go and deal with terrorists, and maybe there is a mishap and you hit the wrong target and civilians get hurt, or you spend too much money. You spend a lot of money on the military and they find out maybe there's corruption in the military. People will find it, they will say, why are you not spending on hospitals? Because they don't understand that for you to get it on to hospital, you have to have the nation secure in the first place. They don't understand that. Until what you tend to see in the world is that in the way people behave is that when they've survived a essential crisis, or they fought for their nation like the way Zimbabwe did, they tend to be more focused on trying to build something that will last. And even Zimbabwe conflict is not even as aggressive as compared to most, what let's say the Koreans saw. You see what I mean? It's the people themselves that need to change, because even Nigerians, if I tell them today, how much are you willing to pay to secure your country so that we don't lose almost $50 billion a year? You will be surprised how much argument you get from that discussion. They will tell you that go and worry about other things first. Don't worry about security. Go and deal with other things. At the same time, they will tell you that they know security is important, but you have to do it this way, otherwise don't do anything at all. So we are, as a people, we don't seem to understand that it doesn't matter how you get it, just get it done. It doesn't matter.
Why isn't there a culture?
Let me pass the mic to Jagoon. Let me get through the rest of the people. Then we could, do follow-up questions. Go ahead, Jagoon. And guys, hit the like button. Please hit that like button. Go ahead, Jagoon.
Thank you very much. Good discussion, as is becoming common.
For now,
yes, indeed. I think that many of us are correct about the issue. As far as are we being cursed, that's a big question. A big question. We have a history of looking back and not knowing exactly who we are. We come from many branches. Those of us who believe that we are biblical, so to look at a question as "Are we being cursed?" is a big biblical question. But I do like, I think it was Johnny who came with a quite precise argument in his question, which is for our access today, for who we are today, for how we recognize ourselves, for the disconnectivity between us, to understand that we are suffering from the same angst, we are suffering from the same pressure. How do we come together to make it right? The thing is, corruption and bad leaders, and indeed bad followers, are our problem. We have to really appreciate that the man in the mirror is the problem, and we have to fix it from that level. I mean, when we look at depictions of us, whether we agree with them, whether they are focused upon our culture and mimicking it and making small of it, sometimes we have to really look at our own responsibility in making such a picture when there's a big urgency, as we all appreciate on this platform at least, that coming together is what we have to achieve, and we have to achieve it quickly. You see, it's been a long time since I've recognized that traveling as a Black person in this world whether from London, you're going to the Caribbean or going to Africa. The expense for us is much. You could go to holiday with about £286 to Jamaica from London. But most Jamaicans will travel for about £500, £600 if they're going to Jamaica from London. Nigerians, it fluctuates, and we make all £800 cheap because there are people who have been known to pay 1,400 easily from London to Nigeria, where somebody who's holding a British passport like myself, which is why I say that I'm British, and British is a club. It's a club that provides you with access. Most, or not most, a lot of Nigerians who have been here for a long time, been into the diaspora for a long time. They traveled firstly to the UK for obvious reasons, I suppose, in that they were our colonizers. But what I'm trying to say is that the reach that Black people have around the world at the moment is fantastic. We are in the east, west, north, and south hemispheres of the continent of the globe, but we're not connected, and this leads further into our weakness as a collective. And our leaders are spectacularly bad in that they do not negotiate on the behalf of their people. They negotiate on behalf of their power play and their positioning as politicians or leaders. And without a revolution, it stays the same, I'm afraid. It stays the same. And that's what I'm propagating in myself. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah. So my last 7 years of going around Africa, I've been to 17 different countries. I have seen tremendous progress in every single country I've been to. Now, in the beginning, I used to believe like, oh yeah, the leadership is bad in Nigeria, the leadership is bad in every country that I went to. But over time, I started seeing a lot of changes. And I come to realize it's not necessarily the leadership. Like in the case of Nigeria, I think Buhari was a great leader. I think Tinubu's doing a great job too. But if you talk to the people, everyone says, okay, we know they're corrupt and they're this and they're that. And for me personally, I'm not seeing it. And a lot of times it's actually the people. I've seen that when Nigerian government, when they give contracts to local businesses, you get bad roads, you get poor infrastructure, shit gets built pretty much shantily to a degree. But since they've been giving it to foreign contractors like in let's say Abia State or Anambra and Abuja, they don't necessarily contract with local companies as much as they used to. They give it to Arab contractors. It's a company out of Egypt or whatever. The roads are built beautifully, very beautiful. Or they give it to the Chinese, it comes out somewhat decent to a degree. But whenever they give contracts to local people, it just sinks. It sucks. It's horrible. They fix something, it got to be fixed again in 3 months. It's not the Nigerian government. It's not African governments. It's not a leadership issue. It's the people. 100% the people. And that's it.
All right, go ahead, Elvis, and after Elvis, Bobo.
All right, thank you, Dennis, and hello to the panel. Look, I think abject poverty is the terrorist that has terrorized Africans and those who will be leaders. And I say this because a person who lives in abject poverty, who runs for a position to be a representative or a senator and wins, he's traumatized by the poverty that you know, he went through in his life. And he's going to do everything in his power not to ever see that poverty again. So he tends to steal, tends to be greedy. He tends to think about self and securing his bloodline, a pathway out of poverty. So that's one issue where a lot of African leaders, some of them were, but a lot of them were not independently wealthy before getting into politics. Some of these guys were just community activists. barely living on the margins of society, economically. They're thrust into power. They got, access to money, and they have a way now to earn money illicitly and illegally. And they use that as a way to secure their generations to come, life, through taking bribes or stealing from the government. The second part is having the understanding that you have to invest in your people, like what Jonathan was saying. Is very important because if you invest in your people, you have a standard. You standardize certain processes, and that way development can be streamlined through the nation, or even as a whole the continent. One thing that I don't see Africans doing, especially African leaders, is having maybe an annual conference where they talk about the development and the human development of the continent, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where you can take a deep analytical look to see where the people are in terms of the human development index and what capacity we're building on the continent for sustainable development throughout the continent. You have a lot of poor countries in Africa. That's one issue. But many of these poor countries have very little capable people that can run a nation and sustain a nation, whether it's through the education that they bring to the table and the expertise to build nations. We're lacking, especially in West Africa. So I think the African leaders need to have conference or multiple conferences where they can, devise a plan to really push within the next 10 years in improving the capacity of Africans to build their nation, and sustain their nation through education, through trade, learning different skill set that will continue to, to keep the nation running, whether it's through building roads or, IT and infrastructure and things like that. We lack a lot of those things. We have people in certain countries that may be good at it, like Nigeria or Ghana, but a lot of other African countries are lacking those key important, skill set that can sustain and build nations. So I don't think we're cursed. I just think our priorities and the fear of living in poverty drives a lot of people to be corrupt and to steal from their own people in hopes that their generation to come will never have to, go through the poverty that they went through. So that's how I see it. But I'll pass the mic.
Good
All right, go ahead.
observation.
Go ahead, Vovol Rants.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, appreciate you. Let me speak. Yeah, to say that that you're cursed, I believe that that's a cop out. That means if you're cursed by who? Cursed by a higher power that's bigger than yourself. Then that means the higher power that's bigger than yourself is the only one that can fix it or uncurse you. I don't think that these nations got a curse problem. I believe that they got a as I said before, like a sellout problem. They want to run away. They want to get up out of there. They want to cheat each other and treat each other bad and they got tribal differences, silly shit. You know what I'm saying? Like why not work together? Everything is in Africa. If I say this all the time, if Africa built a dome, if all the countries built a dome over Africa, nothing goes in, nothing comes out, they would be okay if they was to work together. I remember I used this analogy too before about remember the gorilla girl that glued her hair to her head? She put some gorilla glue on her head. This lady tried to go to the white doctors. Everybody could not unlock her hair. It was an African. It was a Nigerian doctor. Shout out to that Nigerian doctor. He was the only one that could save this woman's hair. He was the only one that had the formula. He got a brilliant mind. He's smart. His power, no, we appreciate his powers over here. His powers could be used in Africa, though. They need his brilliant mind over there. But don't nobody want to take the hit. And when you call them out on it, it's, oh, no, you're trolling. You're xenophobic. You're this, you're that. You're a bad person. You hate Africans. You don't want to be African. That's silly. We was rooting for Africa. Another thing, so all of these people, Africans, they brag about being doctors, lawyers, engineers, but they brag about that in the West. When they're in the West, who's going to go back and take their energy back home? Who's going to go back and take their finances back home? If you don't have any finances, take your ideas back home. Who's going to do that? Who's going to take the hit? People
Well, you
not
know what, bro?
Huh?
Not to disturb you at all, but a lot of people are doing that. A lot of people are going back home all of the time. And truly, it's win, lose, or draw effect. People go there and take their hit. The situation is very social, political. Yes, it's deeply economic. I agree with you. But it's the social, political atmosphere of what does a doctor who is trained to be a doctor, and then he's going home to see what he can do to add to the force of medical care in Nigeria. Yet the whole nation is upside down, and that person may again win, lose, or draw. You know, that's the scenario. It's a touch and go thing, man. It's not easy. I hear what you're saying 100%. That we as black people need to understand that if you're in a revolution, you got to be ready to die. And many of us, we don't want to die for nothing, which is a great shame. It's a question of courage. What you're speaking about with a lot of our people globally, and I don't want to say that we're spineless because many of us, as I said, are going back. But as a collective, we're not strong. I can't boast of any strength, be it in the diaspora or back home. That
Okay,
suggests
let me just say two things. I noticed I'm the only one that got cut off. Another thing. At the end of the day, somebody gonna have to take this hit. Somebody gonna have to. All the big talkers gonna have to come off the internet. They gonna have to start going on. They gonna have to live there. You gonna have to live there, like actually live there. Everything have to raise your children there. You're gonna have to live there. And at the end of the day, what's going on right now globally? The world is sick of immigration. The world is sick and tired of immigration. So so somebody's gonna be forced to stay there anyway. Why not get your the brother earlier mentioned the roads are shitty if the locals build it and all that. That's because these engineers, engineer is a problem solver. That's what an engineer is. He solves problems. He's a high level thinker. The engineers that's over here, the engineers that's in Canada, that's in Australia, that's in Europe, Germany, China, those guys need to go back and build it. They need to be building that stuff. That's what it's going to take. So until that happens, Africa's not cursed. Cursed by who? Cursed by what? If you say that Africa's cursed, that's giving up. You washing your hands with it. You saying God's got to come fix it. We can't just wait on God. God, yeah, I believe in God, but shit, you got to do some work yourself. You pray and then you go make it happen yourself. Appreciate you letting me speak.
I think most of the work that people are doing, it's funny enough, most of them are doing it here in the West. Because the truth is, many African countries don't have the, let's say, the tech institutions, the great hospitals, the financial institutions to actually practice what they've learned. Because I was having a conversation about with somebody the other day, was saying, "Oh, we need to educate our people more." I said, "We are educating them. The problem is when we educate them, they don't have anywhere to practice. They go and work for the West. What is the point? You have to sooner or later start building things on the ground." For the, I don't have a lot, but I'm trying to do something similar on the ground in Nigeria at the moment. So this is the kind of stuff you sooner or later have to do. You can't always keep saying, "Oh, we should be educating our people, have a human development index," when there is nothing for them on the ground to actually do. And even power supply is barely there in place. Anything you do is undermined by the fact that the nation is vulnerable to all kinds of whims, whether it's the misgovernance of the government or no security or one upheaval here and there. And because of that, everybody goes overseas. So, and that's why I try to let you understand. It's simple to say, "Oh, they should go back," but why would they want to go back? They don't have much of an incentive to go back because there's nothing there for them to go and do except they want to start their own enterprises. And if you want to do that, there are only a few people that like to do that kind of stuff. Most people are just workers. They want to work for companies. See what I mean?
To Nigel, let me come in here, please. Look, I'll give you an example, and this is, anecdotal. I have a, we have a doctor in my country, right? He's a world-renowned epidemiologist, right? A virologist, and he works at our National Health Institute in Liberia, right? He was here in the United States. He helped during COVID. He worked with, Anthony Fauci and those guys. He testified before Congress. He's back home in Liberia, and he's working at the what we call the NVIL, the National Institute of Health, in Liberia. And he just recently got, fired from his position because people in the organization said they couldn't work with him because I guess his standard was too high and he was demanding too much from the people that he worked with. But one of the main issue, which is the crux of my comment here, the government tend not to fund these institutions. You have brilliant minds. I don't know how it is in Nigeria, but you might have brilliant doctors and people who on the world stage will probably compete with anybody globally. But your governments are not investing in these people. I don't know if we have anything like NASA, even on the continent of Africa, where the government is putting in hundreds of millions, because maybe we can't put in hundreds of billions, but hundreds of millions of dollars into a science organization that's doing research, where doctors are on a salary, of the government and are researching for the benefit of that government or said country. We don't do those things. So everybody is left to fend for themselves. That's the point I was making, where government are not investing in the people. Investing in the people is not just simply education, is giving them the tools to thrive. If you can invest into a think tank and you make sure that that doctor is well taken care of, and you give him the leeway to try to discover new things that's going to benefit your people and your nation or the continent as a whole, you will have a lot more development. You will have a lot more African scientists wanting to be on the continent serving their countries because the government has their back by funding these different programs where they can really show their stuff. But our countries are not doing it. That was one of the point I was making. I'll pass the mic.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that so many of us, normal thinking people, normal living people, have the answer, or have a notion of how to get to some level of expedience in growth across the African nation. And that's largely because it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's something that we can do. The people who are calling themselves politicians today, none of them have two heads. So I always think that unless we really take the bull by the horn somehow, I don't know how, it's going to take serious organization. But unless we do it, I don't think it's going to be done. Because I look across Africa and I don't see any urgency being played by any of the leaders that suggests that we're going to get anything out of them concerning Africa. As much as our heart may be fixated on unity, which is where it should be, there is no land space that is available for us to enter into and operate from. And I believe unless we organize and do it ourselves, it's not going to be done. This is my jeopardy in this whole discussion.
So I got a question for you. When it comes down to that, I think that the thing that's kind of like the elephant in the room, and forgive me if somebody already talked on this because my audio had cut out, so I wasn't able to hear. But it sounds like it's a problem with transparency, and there's a problem with corruption that's there on the ground, and we kind of is the missing piece to this and the elephant in the room. I'm trying to see how can y'all specifically. I don't know how transparent most African
I
politics
personally,
are.
I agree with your question and with your paradigm. I think it's very acute because whilst we may speak about all these other issues, the issue of wastage of energy and resources based on the decision making of leaders is the biggest problem, to be frank. And the fact of the matter is, as things go on, they just simply get worse, bigger, badder, worse. The corruption that was laid out in the 60s and 70s was nothing compared to today. And we, as I say, we were just emerging, but we were emerging with a lot of strength. And as the years went by, it's just decayed into horror. So, there's a lot of things that need analyzing, real analyzing. And I can't say that I can answer some of the questions that you have, because they are very pertinent questions. How to stop corruption when it's come to this level? If you go to Nigeria, the a small boy of the age of 8, he just knows so many tricks. You better just be watching yourself, because he will have you upside down
Ja,
with your pockets empty.
Jargon, let me say this, right?
Yeah.
There's a phrase called suffering with intent, right? Suffering with intent. And I've looked for it on the continent, I haven't seen it. What do I mean by that? If a government would tell its people that we have to tighten our belts, we have to go to a time of, let's say, austerity, or even a time where, like, take China, for example, and I always use China, where they went for 20 years, they got ridiculed globally as being a sweatshop, of the global world. They suffer abuses of having cheap products and things that's not well made, selling their labor for the cheap. They suffer with the intention of building their economy and becoming a manufacturing hub for the entire globe. They suffer with that intention. So Africa, we're not suffering. We're not going through austerity. So you know what? We're going to dump a lot of money into educating our people, giving them the best education, and then investing in them to reach their peak level to contribute to our country. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not suffering with intent. So I think if like the brother was saying, corruption is one part of it. Like I made the comment earlier that people are poverty on the continent. If you've been through really, a real abject poverty, you don't want to even smell it. You don't even want to be near it. So if somebody went through it and they got to a level of power, they want to pad their bank accounts where it will be generations before any of their descendants can ever, get close to abject poverty again. So that's one thing. In the West, most politicians are lawyers. They come from wealthy families. They're not desperate where when they get into power, they're trying to steal everything right there and then. They may do some deals that may benefit them in the future, but they're not so desperate where they need to gobble all the money they can gobble, so that their families will be secure. That's one of the issues on the continent.
No, we
Abject
we
poverty
we
drives
understand
people into corruption.
No, I
So
think
if we invest into our people as a whole, where more people are more middle class, by African context, when they
you
get
see.
into power,
I
perhaps
think you're
Hey,
they'll
taking.
I got. Somebody just text me. He said, "Dinus, please diplomatically tell these Africans to stop making excuses." Let me. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Danful offers unparalleled, curated, and bespoke tours across Africa for travelers seeking genuine cultural experiences, enriched with magnificent sights, sounds, and flavors found on the continent. Each trip is reliably curated to ensure visitors are gifted with an immersive and authentic adventure. Whether you find yourself strolling along the charming white sand beaches of Sierra Leone, feasting on the mouth-watering delicious foods in Senegal, observing or partaking in various aspects of the Isheshi traditional system Ifa native to Yoruba land, Nigeria, with Danful, you will rediscover a fulfilling sense of kinship to the true heart of the motherland, her communities. Our core values focus on integrity, quality, safety, and sustainability. We are uniquely committed to assisting with the advancement of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danful, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danful, Africa. To learn more, visit danful.africa.
All right, shout out to Jonathan Miller for the 400 naira super chat. God bless Edo and Ibibio family. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think, you know, me personally, I don't come from a place where I'm satisfied with any of the so-called governments in Africa, apart from AES. The Nigerian government, I don't see them as a government. I see them as gangsters who are running the country. I don't want anything from them. I don't want partnership with them. I can't. It's very difficult for me to suggest how to get involved. I've got my roots and I've got my ways, and I get involved anyway. However, you know, anyone who said that Buhari was a good government, I mean, I'm thinking, what are you thinking about, man? What are you thinking about? A country like Nigeria that has billions upon trillions, can't even make it to $1 trillion a year after 65 years of such a glorious beginning to their country. Now it's just like a piece of nonsense. I mean, we've got to really stop thinking that the governments of these countries are giving us anything, because we know what's going on. We know the play outside of Africa. We know what the play is. We know that they're Otishekona, as they say in Yoruba. They've gone around the corner, mate. We can't even see them if we're in Africa. It's from here that we see clearly how the world rests. And where Africa is, it's nowhere near where it's supposed to be. Yet we know it can be achieved. How do we achieve it? With the same rubbish that we've been doing for the last 60 years? It's yes, we're young nations, but we're not stupid, are we? For the last 60 years, this is what the play has been, where we've been run roughshod all over the place. Yet we hold the material, the initial material. But our governments don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to negotiate. It's the fact. They don't know how. It's obvious. All they know is how to stick money in their own pocket. None of them is facing their people. Apart from AES. AES has given us a strict example of how to achieve this thing. Yet none of us are really speaking about them and trying to levy our governments or levy revolution in order to construct how we position our thoughts and decision making. The, the,
Hey,
the
Don,
decisions that, the
can I
decisions
cut
that
in,
we're
bro?
making. Sorry, I just want to end like this. The decisions that I think that we're making are decisions that play into the hands of the West and not into empowering our people. Thank you.
Okay.
Walker.
Yeah, Don, man, I just want to say that, first of all, Africa is not cursed. Well, it's cursed with horrible leadership. And I'm pretty sure that's what we all have been saying. What we need in Africa, what each country needs in Africa, is a Second Amendment. The reason that these politicians are able to get away with what they're able to get away with is because it's because the citizens are pretty much stuck with their you know what in their hand, right? I mean, no way that the things that these politicians do in Africa will be able to get away with that in America. Why? Because we have a Second Amendment. That's one of the most important amendments in America, is the Second Amendment, because when it gets too corrupt, the people can take back their government through the use of arms. And so what's going on in these countries is that these people have no way to defend themselves against this. You know, like if they try to protest against the government, they get mowed down by machine guns because they don't have machine guns to shoot back at the people. I remember one time I was in this is back when I was in law school, and we was having this discussion about the Second Amendment. And you know, we had like one side of the class was talking about, oh, you know, the gun rights need to be under control, and the other side was like, gun rights don't need to be under control, right? And one of the points I brought up was that, okay, I'm cool with you know, the citizens not having weapons as long as the military doesn't have weapons, right? And one of my, you know, Caucasian colleagues said, "What do you mean? The military is trained, bro? The Nazis were trained, right? So what's going on in these countries is the reason that these corrupt politicians, are allowed to get away with this is because the citizens only have rocks to throw at them and not a real means to take back their government and take over their countries. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Ibrahim Traore has did in Burkina Faso in order to pale terrorism is that he armed the citizens in those villages around the on the coast or whatever. I mean, not on the coast, just not by the coast, but like on the on the border or whatever, where those terrorists were coming in there and mowing down villages. He trained those villages, gave them weapons so they can actually defend themselves. And that's actually what we need in Nigeria. If the terrorists ran into villages who had machine guns so they could fight back against them, it'd be a quick end to terrorism, right? So one of the things that we need in Africa is a equivalent to some type of Second Amendment. Now I know in South Africa, they got I think if I'm not mistaken, they got the right to bear arms there. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's one of the reasons that these politicians are able to get away with this. They're the only ones armed in the country, and anytime you're the only one armed in the country, you make the rules. So I end right there.
I think that there was a movement in the 90s and early 2000s to a kind of on Second Amendment African nations, because they felt like African nations were they had too much arms to they were hurting each other with it, so they wanted to make sure they basically put an embargo on many African countries. I think that was an excuse to just weaken the countries. And if you try to do anything like Second Amendment, you have a big problem on your hand. The reasons why our African leaders are not able to invest in their militaries is because of the same reason that they're going to be against Second Amendment. Because if people are armed, clearly, it's going to be a problem for other people that want to influence the continent. That said, there are the various systems in the world, whether you have Second Amendment or not.
Exactly.
Systems can function.
So now it's funny you mentioned that. One of the reasons, if we study World War II, one of the reasons that Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany didn't, do a full-on invasion of America. So he's quoted as saying that if they invaded America, that there would be a gun behind every blade of grass, and he wasn't lying. Matter of fact, African Americans are the most armed black people on the planet. Not even the Nigerian army has more guns than African Americans. We can boast about that. Right, we are the most armed. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, we're one of the most financially, rich Africans on the planet." No, we're the most armed Africans on the planet, and that's why we're able to enjoy a lot of the freedoms that we have. And so, yeah, I mean, I understand what comes with the Second Amendment, right? You know what I'm saying? You guys got a lot of tribal situations over there. It's a chance that, if everybody started getting guns or whatever, you might get to turn on each other. Man, look, that's a small price to pay for corrupt government that's really running your countries into a shithole, right? To be honest, Donald Trump, when he said that, that was that should have been a Pan-African statement, right? I mean, sometimes when somebody says something about you, that should shed light on the characteristics that he's pointing out, right? And I'm not agreeing with Donald Trump on that or nothing like that. I'm an African, Pan-African to the fullest. But what I mean is when people criticize you, you need to be turning your eyeballs around and analyzing, what's going on here. I mean, we can sit here and speculate and talk about, is Africa cursed? Yeah, it's cursed because they don't have any weapons. The citizens don't have any weapons. So they're allowed to get raped and robbed by their own people. And in many cases, I think it was an African president who didn't even allow his military to have weapons. Think about that.
See, I think the problem is if you arm the citizens, you're basically arming the nation. So if you arm the nation, even without arming the citizens, the dynamics will change still. The essential aspect there is you arm the nation, because look at 4 North African countries. They are highly, highly armed and well funded. Even America funds Egypt. They give Egypt a lot of F-16. I think Egypt has at least 218 F-16 fighters, while Nigeria has 0. So you see, when people, I hear when somebody in the chat said that we are making excuses. I think there's an element of that going on, because how is it that our people just sit by and they watch other countries get all kinds of stuff, then our leader just go and they just come back empty-handed all the time. They don't go and do anything. I don't know. It's like they just travel overseas for treatment, go and get houses there, take their children to school. That is it. It's like we are almost infantile the way we interact with the world. And what makes it even more poignant in terms of when they say we are cursed is our relationship with any other group of people, especially this Niger Congo group. There is something racially inferiority complex that we have, that even the way we react with fellow Africans that are not part of the Niger Congo group, you can see that we internalize a lot of inferiority. Like when Aisha Speed went to this in Ethiopia, oh, they are talking about how beautiful they are and how good they look. The reason why they do those things is because those features are generally non-African features. You see what we do, and if you go to many of those countries that are East African, the way they treat us in those areas is not that friendly. Let's face it. But when they come into our own spaces, we treat them a lot better. So there is an element of being kind of, I don't know, is inferiority a curse? Maybe it is. There is something about us that take on burdens of other people when we don't even have anything to offer. It's like we are offering our lives and offering our future to them. And sooner or later, we have to start realizing that we have to start punching just as hard as high as they are doing, or higher, because our leaders just go there and they don't come back with anything, just nothing. And I think that this is an opportunity, actually, because the way Trump is treating the world right now is not the same as the way the other administrations are treating the world. Trump doesn't care too much about the Leahy Act that they used to prevent Nigeria from buying technology from the US. He doesn't care about all the others. He just cares about business. And if Tinubu is a smart man, he will use this opportunity to gain a lot of capabilities from America. But we'll watch this space and see what happens.
So, Naja, I have a question for you, right? And maybe for the entire panel. It's clear right now that the West is not going to help us develop. They're not. Whether it's because they see us as a potential future threat to them, or it's from some deep-seated hatred for us as Black people, which you know many will call racism. They're not going to help us. You can argue that they help, China, for example, with Apple going in there, Nike and other big corporation, really setting China as their base and over time helping them develop. The West is probably not going to do that for us in Africa. What are our options for developing? Are we looking?
If we act as if we don't have any other allies, then we have to rely on ourselves. And
I want to go back to. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want to go back to what I asked earlier when I'm talking about.
Hey, guys, I need to pass the mic to Pierre. Go ahead, Pierre. Unmute yourself. Pierre, unmute yourself. Pierre.
Yeah. What's up, boss? Happy New Year. Respect, man. I just wanted to make a couple comments. Basically, my commentary is based on the Haitian perspective because, honestly, what I see is that basically what we're not aware of is as Africans and Black people globally, like we haven't recovered from colonialism. Because the truth is that colonialism has affected us, neocolonialism has affected us, and we have not recovered from it. Now, when you look at the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, that was like the last time, like an act of what you could call Pan-Africanism, of like Black people coming all over from like to unite under like one army to get freedom, whatever. The indigenous army of Haiti uniting with everybody together, and we got independence. But ever since that, what people don't realize is, and I gotta say this too, because what a lot of people don't realize about the Haitian Revolution is that it was fought by Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And what Jean-Jacques Dessalines was going to do is he really wanted to go free Africa too. He wanted to free Black people globally. But what happened was that after the revolution, it was like coup d'etat. They did the mulattoes against them because it was the French, because they were still connected to France. So the mulattoes really did us a lot of stuff to mess up our revolution. but what happened is that there was a counter-revolution to a revolution, and what happened is Haiti's been at a state of arrested development, and because when Haiti got its independence, it was alone in nations of European nations of the power structure, and what France did to pull the independence debt on us is they pulled up with boats on us the same way the U.S. just pulled up with boats on Venezuela and kidnapped the president. France pulled up with boats on us and threatened us, and because but what you have to understand is because the only reason they were allowed to do this is because they assassinated Dessalines. You know, that's the only reason they was able to do it. Because the thing about it is if you notice, Haiti got its independence in 1804. Africa didn't really get independence until the 1900s, and that wouldn't have been in effect if Dessalines would have been assassinated. So what happened is, we've been in a state of, because they've kept Haiti in a state of arrested development, and all the Black people been in a state of arrested development, because we kept from developing ourselves due to the fact that we haven't overcome colonialism. And when you look at it, the Asian, China, they went through colonialism also, but they should have been they rose out of it. They were able to rise out of it. Now, Africa was being colonized longer than everybody else, because they started colonizing Africa before everybody else. But when it came down to neocolonialism, what happened was, when you look at it, Kwame Nkrumah and his movement of what he was trying to do with the original African Union before they had the two Casablanca groups or whatever. But basically, the warfare that's being waged on us is basically a Cold War that's been waged on Haiti, because once they looked at Haiti as a threat, they looked at Haiti's success as a threat. Once they looked at Haiti's success as a threat, because what happened was they were afraid of the Americans, of the Black Americans following us. So the power structure, the white power infrastructure, made sure they wouldn't rise up and copy us. So, and they were alert for that. So that's what happened with the colonialism with that, and they were able to keep Haiti down. And by the Black Americans really following us and getting their thing done, and then being looking out for it, that kept us down. But the thing about it is Africa should have learned from that, because Africa should have studied colonialism and seen what happened to Haiti and the Black people in America. So they should have been on point, and they've been colonized the longest. So they should have studied that and been on point and been aware for that. But some reason they seem like not to be worth colonial, like what the colonial warfare that's being waged on them. Because when you look at it, Malcolm X was going there, MLK was going there during the civil rights era, pushing the Pan-Africanism. The Pan-Africanism never caught on to the continent, and that's basically my analysis. Respect.
Can I respond to what you just said, brother?
No, let me pass it to the Invisible Man first, then he gets respond, Skywalker. Go ahead, Invisible Man.
Respect. I'm gonna listen to you guys.
Okay, I probably am going to sound like a broken record up here, but I have a question to ask the Africans, Nigerian, and I wish Elvis was still up here since he's from Liberia, but and then I'll follow it up. But and Pierre, you sound like you're from you have roots in Haiti, so this would include you as well. Would the African countries accept Black Americans that own construction companies, steel companies, and other large waste companies, and that type to help build their infrastructure, or would they see that as would they not accept it? I don't know how they would see it, but I'm just asking, would you accept that? I say that because it would solve a problem in Black America, in that Black America looks as they are underemployed, and the contracts, they don't get as many of the contracts, so they could go overseas because they have the expertise, and then they could make these deals with the African countries and Haiti, a country like Haiti, and then the resources that these countries have could be used as the income. Now, and that was my second point, because payment is a big deal. You're not going to be able to pay some of these companies in your dollar. So how do you pay them? You pay them by somehow making an arrangement with the resources. And on the flip side, those individual companies, through financial means, could then turn that into payment that they receive by then maybe brokering a deal with the United States for all the resources that the United States is looking for. So you resolve the issue of Black Americans' unemployment and underemployment, but they have the expertise. And then you have, to me, a sincere partner that doesn't want to just come over and abuse you, but actually want to help. And you get a quality service that resolves your water issue, your electric issue, your infrastructure issue. That's I guess the crux of my question.
I answered you very
Okay,
well.
so can I respond now, Donnie?
Can I quickly just put this to
Well,
the
let me pass it to Skywalker, then I'll pass it to Jagoon, and after that is V.
Yeah, because Jagoon, you'll be on here for about 3 hours talking. Let me go back. I'm just joking, bro. I'm just joking with
you. Might
you,
learn something.
But hey, yeah, you mentioned Haiti, brother, and man, I some of the greatest African revolutionaries came up out of Haiti. You mentioned Jean-Jacques Dessalines, but I'm thinking about people like Henri Christophe as well. And I think Haiti is a perfect example when I a while back I talked about Amos Wilson and his theory of intentionality. I think that Haiti was a perfect example of what Black people can do when our intentionality is all on one accord, and everything that we do is for the intent of building our own community. I mean, even when you look at the Citadel Lafayette, which is still a mystery to architectures, right? And it seems that every time Black people on code and they get to building something, whatever we leave behind is a mystery. Nobody can understand how we did it. So whenever our intentionality is on code, we seem to accomplish miracles. And I would also say that it's something about the Francophone Africans that is just their revolutionary fervor. It's the type of fervor that we need to see across the Black world. I mean, even when you look like almost all the great revolutionaries spoke French. Frantz Fanon, L'Ouverture, Dessalines. When you look at the AES, I mean, the list just goes on, right? But it's something about and it probably is because France was so brutal to these guys that they just got fed up to the point that it was like, man, no, it's it's either homeland or death, yada yada yada. To Thomas Sankara is another French speaking revolutionary, and so I think that one of the ways that we could solve this problem, or at least start to galvanize some true revolutionary spirit, is we need to learn from our Francophone brothers and listen to what they're talking about and see what they're doing. And I also agree with Invisible Man's approach as well. But the problem with that is that I mean, it should be common sense. I mean, what you just said, Invisible Man, should be common sense. The leadership of Africa should immediately say, well, hold on, we got the Black Americans who are the most educated, most armed, and arguably some of the most talented Black people on the planet. Why are we choosing non-Black people to make deals when we should be choosing them? I mean that should be common sense. But it's the fact that they are corrupt. It's the fact that they are in the pockets of white people that don't make those decisions. Which is why the populations of those countries need to rise up and take those people and throw them in the sea for all I care, and, and
But
take
what?
over.
But what company is ready to go? Black owned. That's going to be able to scale up to work on a project that size
What? Let me.
overseas, where they have different. Hold on, when they have different regulations and they have
This
different.
is what I wanted to speak
Okay.
about. I mean,
Yeah, it's
Can I
not that
respond to that?
simple.
Can I respond to
Go
that,
ahead.
and then
Go ahead.
no.
I'm
The
gonna
thing
get
is,
off.
Dan
Hey,
did say myself.
Well, hold
I'm
on,
a,
Skywalker. You got 30 seconds. I'll pass it to Jago.
Okay, well, like he was just saying, if they could use their resources to pay African Americans
I'm talking
could
about,
then.
not to cut you off, bro, but just so you answer with your 30 seconds, I'm talking about who's prepared to do that type of job in the first place that can
Oh,
scale
well,
up to that
I mean, we
size.
understand,
And keep in mind that it's international, though. But go ahead.
brother, we understand that there's going to be challenges, right? You know what I'm saying? And we need people, entrepreneurs and pioneers to you know what I'm saying, to take that off. I mean, we understand it, but what we're saying is that once those pioneers or frontiers, take that initiative, what they need to be doing is taking the resources, like using the resources that they're getting paid with, forming African American corporations that could build capital and then reinvest that capital into Africa. So I mean, it's not rocket science. The problem is that we got corrupt leaders in these countries who are giving the resources to non-Africans. I mean, it's just a period.
All right, let me pass it to Jago. Go ahead, Jago.
Well, that is part of the answer. What was just said by Skywalker. You see, I come from it from a different angle. I'm in this side of Europe. And there are many black Europeans, if you like, in England, France, in Spain, who have been here for a long time and have built up skills and are ready to deliver them. I want, for one, for the Caribbean people in this country, in England, they are largely artisans. So they're basically using their hands a lot in their work, and they've reached many heights in engineering through the trades that they've been dealing with. I know them personally. So them coming over with a grounding that is comfortable enough for them to set up and work is there for them through myself. The thing is, what you guys are speaking about, you're still speaking shyly. You're speaking like shy. You, you know, traveling to Nigeria many times. When I used to go home as a youngster, the white people I used to see were all hoity-toity, the elite of the Europeans. And then came a time from the 90s onwards where it was the run-of-the-mill white man. The white man ran a corner, the laborer who was finding himself in Nigeria. I'm thinking, what's going on? And as I'm seeing this, they're getting themselves involved. Eastern Europeans, they're getting themselves involved. Why? Because there's money there. And I wonder why such a question is needed. The only reason why such a question is needed is because of the mindset that you have about Africa. You have a mindset that suggests it's no good for you. They don't like me. All these personal, emotional issues that African Americans have, and not just African Americans, I hate it, African Europeans have. It's far too comfortable for us where we are. That, the white man who we think would never get involved in Africa, he's getting involved because he knows what time it is. We're too slow in our thinking. We don't know. I think is my estimation. We really don't
Jagoon,
know.
could I ask? My bad. I
Well,
thought you were done.
I got to pass it to V. So go ahead, Jago. I got to pass it to V.
Yeah, I just want to say end like this. We're not strict on what time it is. It's late in the day for some of these suggestions. We should be doing rather than asking. Thank you.
No, go ahead, V.
Oh, hello guys. Hello diners.
Hello.
I'm listening to you all speak, and I just want to agree with one or two of the gentlemen on the panel. One did say that Africa is currently, if you take out the AES and a few one or two other governments here and there, the rest are all gangsters, and Africa is in the hands of gangsters. We have to admit to the fact. Africa, vast majority of the governments now are gangsters. They're just damn right thieves. They're stealing with both hands. And they've been, obviously, there are people from outside who is in their interest to siphon off our resources, and they are getting help and support from many, many, many governments in Africa. And it's pretty sad and pathetic. I mean, there were people talking about the colonialism, and when we had leaders that fought for colonialism, and there were many, I don't want to be mentioning them because many of you will know who they are. They had the nation and their people at heart, and they were really genuinely intent on fighting and doing the right thing for the nation. Many of them were deposed or assassinated or done away with. And the group that came in, they were just puppets all around, from north to south, east and west. They were puppets, and they came in to do their master's bidding. Because they're all gangsters, they need the support and the backing of their masters to stay in power. They don't like to resource their military because they are afraid of them. As somebody was saying, that if you resource your military well, you give them good weapons or training and make them really, I mean, like the Nigerian army, if they were fully professional and trained and resourced well, they can get rid of those terrorists in a blink of an eye. It's just those terrorists are a means to an end for certain elite within the Nigerian society, especially the northern elite. You know, they're not doing much for their people, so they are allowing all this terrorism and insecurity to go on. So it gives them a chance to have their lavish lives, their private jets, and if trouble comes, they take themselves. Most of them, their children are not even living in the country anyway. Most of them, their children have been educated abroad. These are the kind of leaders we have in Africa. When they are ill, they get themselves right into private jets, straight out for treatment. Isn't it pathetic and sad? So we have to understand and accept and stop making excuses. I mean, our generation should be more, I believe most of us are educated well enough, well, reasonably okay. And also, many of us have had opportunity to travel. We've seen what's going on elsewhere, and how if a nation have a right leader with the right intent, the nation can quickly turn around. If you look at countries like China, China just used less than 40 years to take so many people out of poverty. And what the Chinese they did was they brought their people out all over the world to study. They took them to America, Europe to study. And when they realized, when they knew that those people are acquiring those skills and they've got enough skills, they brought them back to health institutions, like their universities and government institutions. And with the help of, that's why I said the diaspora, somebody said, are very crucial, because many in the diaspora have a lot of skills and know-how. And I always go back to, either the Caribbean or even the Black American diaspora, because they have been through a lot and they have acquired so much skills and know-how. And even, what's the word? The English have a word, they say skullduggery. Not means that, perhaps I'm not using it correctly here, but it seems to know inside and how to maneuver around these people that are tormenting us more than our foolish, useless leaders down there. Our leaders, they come, they get in a plane, they wear their fine suits and agbadas, and they get here and they get all this, differential treatment, and they're all over, and they think that's it. They come to this, how can a whole continent, Italy, what do they call it? Italian and the African leaders, and the Italian government can summon the whole group of African leaders, and all of them get in a plane and get there. For what? In the meanwhile, Italy needs our resources, our gas and oil. They depend on it. The gas and oil in Libya, they depend on it to survive. And the government of Italy could just call a whole gang of African leaders, and they all swarm into the plane, and they are there for what? And they come back with peanuts, $1 million here and there. In the meanwhile, billions of your resources have been taken out every year, year in, year out. Simply because when they take $1 billion out, you get about 10% and it will be shared among them. And that's enough for them. This is how pathetic we are. We've become as a people. That's why nobody respects us.
Hey, V,
And that's all we say.
V,
Yeah.
I'm the one that talked about diaspora companies coming over, and I think my idea was called Childish, and who would be ready to come. Let me just say this, that I have worked at the highest levels of government in the United States. I happen to know how subcontracting works with Black companies. When I mentioned Black construction companies and other engineering companies, I'm talking about companies that are worth tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. They will come if they see that they are going to be secure and they are going to get paid. That is a chess move that will that the United States government would have to deal with if Black companies, if an American company is sitting over there doing business. So I have to take real issue with somebody that simply in what I have heard here wants to create war. Because if you want to create a war, you will do what's happening in Haiti right now. And my man just told you that they have been in a state of arrested development for a long time. It was the first place I went when I was 17 years old. And then I expected to see what I saw in Haiti when I went to Uganda. And I was pleasantly surprised that that wasn't how it is. If you want to keep making excuses and then put down Black Americans because Black Americans don't want to come over here, or they see you as in this light, or you see them in this light, then it won't get done. The only childish maneuver in my mind is the fact that you want to create havoc that prevents you from moving forward. I happen to know people that sit on boards of Fortune 100 companies, the biggest construction supplier in the world, that I can reach out today, right now, if I wanted to.
No. Let him finish. Let him finish. Please let him finish. Please let him finish.
So I am going to take vehement exception to you talking about it's childish that they won't come over. If you pay them, if you and they make a deal with you, they will be there and they will be able to supply the
I've understood you,
etc.
my brother. I've understood you very well. I've understood, but I don't think you really understood me. You know, I after you spoke the first time, I wanted to come back here. Wait, please just wait and hear where I'm coming from, my brother. Hear where I'm coming from. You've made a very, you know, wait, please just wait, please. You've made a very pointed position where I'm concerned, where you don't need to. You know, we're on the same platform. The fact that you're connected is fantastic. It means that you have a good understanding of how big business works. And it's obvious that you're talking about big business. I was a bit perplexed when you put your first thought forward, because you began speaking about money as opposed to just really laying the ground foundation out as to how you feel you would actually do business in Africa on the ground. And somebody with your kind of experience, I would think you would have enough understanding that Africa or any other continent, they are quite different in how business is done and conducted. I put to you that there are people coming from all over the world into Africa and they're making it make sense for them. You understand? So somebody from who's an African American, a brother, I would think he will be ahead of those people in natural terms. But we are not ahead of those people. Why? Because we know that we have been given pictures of each other that have lied to our eyes. These are strict, understandable facts. I don't know why you should take umbrage with it, apart from if you're so lily-livered that you have to take umbrage. It's not
No,
umbrage.
hold on, wait a minute.
Wait,
Let me
wait,
say this.
please, let me just land. I'm going to
no,
land. I'm going to land so you can come back. I'm going to land.
I
So
want
you
to
can
say something too. I want to say something too for Haiti before
Okay, cool. Let me just land and let the brother come back. As I said, I'm coming from Europe, and what you are thinking I am doing is what I'm saying, and I'm doing
Can
it.
I just finish on what I'm saying before
Why
you
can't
carry
people
on?
follow this
No,
conversation? I
because
think the brother raises serious points, and I think these serious
yeah, I
points.
understand. And I was going to say something to support his view. He's talking about big businesses and big construction business and so forth. Currently, many African governments, when they need these big constructions and big businesses and so buildings and or bridges and massive road, which the whole continent need, where do they go? They go to China. They go to Turkey. Most of them don't go to America. Now, if we have African Americans or Black people in Europe or America and they have the skills, why shouldn't the government tap into them and bring them over to do this big construction work that is going on all around the continent? If you, I'm there, so
Let me tell you why. You
No, let
see,
me jump
it's
in
not
here and
strict.
then
It's not strict.
Jagun,
Let me
you
just
jump
quickly
in.
tell you why.
No, Jagun, let me jump in right here and then I'm not going to say anything for the rest of it.
Okay,
Come back
say
and
what you
listen.
got to say.
But let me say this. You
Hmm
have called me childish and you
No,
have
brother.
called me,
No,
you
brother.
just said I was littered.
I didn't say that you were.
Oh, man.
I said unless you were.
If you
You see,
keep
you have to
calling
understand the
Black
language. This
America,
is an English language.
Oh, okay, look, don't get to me with the thesaurus and that kind of thing.
Well, I have to if you don't understand me, brother.
No. If you throw
All right,
out terms such as you did, then the negotiation between a company is stopped before.
You know, me and you are not company heads at this platform. We are just individuals discussing issues. And in what we are discussing, I think it is open for us to be quite straightforward and speak our understanding so that we really do hear each other. Because as I said, unless we are building something on a platform level without bringing out my CV for you, I don't have my CV in front
I
of me
didn't
for
ask
you.
you to. I asked you to curb the
No,
language
but
that
instead of
you use, and you come back at me and
no,
tell
sir,
me that I
my
need to
brother,
understand the English language.
if
I'm
I
pretty
need to say to
educated
you,
with the English
this,
language without calling. I have never come on here and called anybody. I haven't slighted anyone. I haven't called anyone a name, but you have.
okay. Let me do this for you. Let me apologize for any. Uh,
Okay. Let me make my point real
no,
quick.
let me just apologize to the brother now.
Now, let me make my point real quick.
If
Listen.
I
All
insult
right, listen.
you,
Okay,
because
you
that's
guys,
not what
I
I've
understand
meant.
what you guys are
Look at
saying.
how can you be so rude? I'm trying to apologize to the brother now.
I
Why be
understand.
so?
Okay, apologize. I just want to make my point real quick because you guys are hogging the mic. Please let me talk because I let you guys talk. So we got to respect each other on here. Okay, give each other time. Now, all I got to say is that I want to address the chat because they were talking. I seen the chat was talking when I said about the Indigenous Army of Haiti. When I speak about the Indigenous Army of Haiti being a Pan-African movement, I mean it was indigenous people from the Americas and Africans coming together to fight for freedom. That's what I mean by that, okay? And also I gotta say about what you and this gentleman are talking about as with Americans, Black America in general, dealing with Africa to money to prosper and save it. Like I said before, you guys are naive and you guys haven't really been studying the movement. Because if you've been studying the movement, you are aware of how the CIA has been undermining Africa. These guys, like the thing about it is white people, Europeans, they have a ruling class mentality when it comes to Black people, and they know how to conserve power, and they're real sophisticated. They were the first ones doing the colonialism. Ever since Africa, they gave Africa fake independence, and they've been using their intelligence agencies to undermine them, and they still control the natural resources. Now, for example, when you've been talking about Black America connecting, I'll give you, for example, I seen something the other day where a Black man from Cleveland, I forgot his name, and a black senator went to the African Union, and they addressed the African Union, and they said there's a airport being built, and there's $30 billion, and they want to spend they would like to work with the African Union so they could spend the $30 billion in profits that they're trying to build an airport in New York, and to spend it with the African Union. But the thing about it is when you look at it, the African Union, the NAACP, ECOWAS, all of these institutions are institutions that were created by your former colonial masters, and they're funding you, keeping you to keep you docile. And you guys don't realize it. Like, they one step ahead of you. I'm a veteran. I'm a military veteran, so I can look at it and see what's going on. And like they're one step ahead of you. Because like I said, one thing I respect about the Chinese is the Chinese were way poorer than Africa. The Chinese were way poorer than Africa, boss. And what happened is, like, the Europeans, America, they thought they were smart. Because if they would have done this with the Africans, it would have worked. But they did it with the Chinese, and they messed up. They thought they could go into China, because what happened is when the economy of America was exploding after World War II, the other markets, it was cheaper for the capitalists to go into foreign markets to develop the goods than to develop in America. So they destroyed the American industrial economy, and they brought it to China, thinking they could make profits. But what the Chinese did is they learned everything. They made sure they taught it. They reverse engineered everything, and they used that to come up, and they reversed it, and they took over. They used it as their advantage, and they took over. Used that to develop themselves, instead of letting them just be porch monkeys, dumb motherfuckers for the Europeans. And I don't know if Africa would have done that, and now they rose, and now they're about to be a superpower. And when you look at Nigeria supposed could have been a superpower, but they're over here fighting the AES, and the AES is the only Pan-African people practicing Pan-Africanism on the continent. Because if you look at it, when Black Americans started Pan-Africanism, and when they went to the continent, the CIA made sure they didn't spread when Kwame Nkrumah tried to do it. So, and if you look, and you want to talk about resources, even if you look at in the Congo, the people in the Congo are partying while they're still stealing their resources. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and let you guys.
All right, let me pass it to Bang, and then we got to close out. Go ahead, Bang.
Okay. How's everybody? This is what I got to say, right? About Africa being developed, or like or some country like Nigeria that we do need to be developed because of their size, and then the people as well, because Nigerians are very smart. I don't care where they come from. They are very smart, because at the end of the day, in this world, it's all about opportunities. If your leaders are not giving you opportunities, are not providing things, are not sponsoring research, because let's be real, if you do want to make up something, right? It could be medical, it could be anything, engineering, and all that, right? You have to have somebody to sponsor you. It might take a couple years, it might take a decade, sometimes it might take 20 years. So these people, they don't have the funds. And then you have these elites, all they care about private jets, private this, private mansions, private this and that. Have other private, mansion in overseas countries as well. They have so much private jets that they can't even, like, what I'm saying? Like, they don't even have space in Lagos to put their private jets. But then you see the country, the way it is. It's pitiful. It's pitiful as well. And then let's be fair with us, right? Because they come to realize there's some Africans that come on your panel, Dennis, right? And then they think Africans don't have the capacity. Some others call us, whatever word they used the last time, right? But they constantly come to a panel try to discuss to help Black people around the world. So if you believe that we don't have the the capacity, why you always come here to share your knowledge then? Because then if I think somebody don't have the capacity, I'm not going to come and try to share my knowledge in them. So if we don't have the capacity, your kids that come from you don't have the capacity as well. So then wherever country they from, like whatever country they born, so make sure when they do go take a test for like some type of degree or anything, right? The white man should be next to them telling them what to do, telling them, oh, this is the answer. This is how you do all this. This is how you do this, right? And then also the Black American thing, right? Let's be fair with us, because to me, if this was the Black folks in the 70s and in the 60s, I'm talking about the ones that were in the 50s and 40s. Oh, they took advantage of what's going on in Africa right now. But the Black man and the Black woman right now, their mindset, it's not the same thing compared to their folks, you know what I'm saying, like 40 or 50 years ago. So the mindset of Black folks in America, it's not the same thing compared to the other, you know, their people. Because I live in DC. When you walk around construction, right, it could be road construction, it could be anything, it could be putting up buildings, right? When you walk around, it's a bunch of Latinos sitting up there, you know, with the crane, with the machines and all these things. And then in a city that's about what used to be Chocolate City, but it still is in some type of way. It's DC probably about, let's say, 65% Black or almost 70% Black, if I'm not mistaken. Then I come in our own city, the people that do all these constructions and all these things that's very important, it's just, you know, it's Latinos. It's barely Black folks in it. But when you go back 40 years ago, it used to be their father. It used to be their uncles. It used to be their grandfather. So how all of a sudden we're gonna tell people from the continent, oh, give us opportunities, when you haven't created that opportunity? You have to create opportunities for other nations to take you serious. I know for sure if this was the 70s, if this was the 80s, I mean not the 80s, at least the 60s, slightly to the 80s, but in the 60s and 70s, those Black men and Black women, oh, there are two different people compared to the Black man right now and the Black woman right now. You could be in your 40s, because if you're in your 40s, you was born in the 80s. But you see the mindset, right? So people got to understand the mindset of Black people around the world has been destroyed, even back home in Africa as well. Because if you live in a country where, you know, I've seen Africans build a massive fancy house right there, and then the entire block, you be like, what? He or she does not care. As long as they have a mansion built right there, they don't care what's around it. They're like, that's not my business. That's this and that. That's individualism. So when the Chinese now don't think like that, when they develop their nations, and then now you want to go to China and buy product and come, you know, bring it to your country and sell. And then some of us come up here and say, oh, the Chinese copied, the Chinese did this and that. Well, then if somebody copied do something good, how come you can't do it? You can't say somebody copied the West and then blame yourself why you can't do it. If I copy you, you're supposed to be able to copy somebody else and then copy me. That's how life works. Life works as a copycat. Nothing is original in this world. It's like music. So nobody can come up here and make a good ass song and act like he or she was the first one that ever did all these things, like when it comes to music, because everything else came from something else. It's just that you probably just put it in a different sample on a different way, but nothing else was original from you. Just like how you might have Prince copy us from somebody else, or Michael Jackson copy it from somebody else. That's how life works. But for us now, Black people say, oh, the Chinese, all they do is copy. Nah, that is a chip shot. Let's be honest with ourselves. Give these people praises, because at the end of the day, if you could uplift over 600 million people out of poverty, and then Africans can come up here, and then the only word they can use to praise the Chinese is copy. Think about it. Over 600 million people out of poverty. Do you know how that amazing? The British people were the first one that built the steam train. Look where they at. They can't even build a speed train. They can't even build a tunnel. I mean, are you telling me, so the Chinese are doing it, are you telling me the Chinese people went and then learned how to build train from the British or wherever, from the Europeans? Now the Europeans can't even build a speed train. So then who's really copy who then? Because now the Europeans are the ones trying to learn how to build speed train. So these things, you know, some of us, we look at it in a very weak manner and very coward. At the end of the day, to me, Africans need to wake up and be serious about fixing Africans. Black folks in this country, put yourself together, build some type of union, go into some African country, develop yourself. Don't worry about some of these Africans that come up here in these panels. They are phony. They're phony. They don't have the belief. All they do is just talk. Go. I say this, right? Go to Liberia. Your foundation is in Liberia. If you guys could go to Liberia and capture Liberia, it will be a game changer. It will be a game changer. But some of us that come up here, oh, we don't have the capacity. Then why the hell you do come to a panel every day and talk about Africans then? Leave us alone. If you say we don't have the capacity, you know, but overall, man, we need to stop, supporting corrupt leaders, man. Because some of us know our leaders are corrupt. Instead, we turn the blind eye. We need to stop supporting corrupt leaders. We need to, because at the end of the day, other people are suffering. Other people back home are suffering, man. People are suffering heavily. There's a lot of poverty back home. There's a lot of poverty. Our people should not be poor. We were never poor. We just made ourselves poor mentally and physically. We just made ourselves poor. But overall, man, black folks from America, go to Liberia, man. The opportunity is there for y'all. Forget about some of these, all these other countries. Go to Liberia, build up Liberia, and then spread out of Africa, man. You guys could take over Africa because there's some Africans, they don't believe the same way as other black people do. Nah, that's what I.
Can I just add something? I've not said anything for a while. See, the reason why African Americans are not necessarily doing enough business on the continent, one is partly due to the policies of the American government, but secondly, it's also due to the fact that even the policy within America against African American community is also limiting the ability to participate in the industry. If you look at the areas, even the areas they participate in, you can't look at Tyler Perry. Now they have Tyler Perry within the industry. Do you see him making?
Man, forget the movies. Forget the movies,
hold on.
man.
I'm just trying to describe the pattern so that you know that there's something going on there too. That if you see Tyler Perry, hold on what I'm saying, so you understand what I'm trying to say. Tyler Perry, you don't see him making any movies about the Haitian Revolution or Queen Amerinus or something that really seriously elevates black people other than us being slaves. And Pierre, you may want to lose the master from calling colonizers or the Europeans this because you don't want young people to be hearing those sort of things. We have compromised ourselves in such a way that it will take a while for us to start realizing and becoming self-conscious about what is going on. That said, if you look at the continent itself, the people themselves are not ready. If you look see what happened with Venezuela. Instead of them to defend their leader, they threw their leader away. Jovenel Moise was taken out in his own property without his security guards getting out.
Okay, I got to answer you. I'm going to answer this.
They bribed them. So you have to understand the forces that you are playing with here. You have to. The people themselves are not ready, and I'm beginning to be more and more convinced that it would take a catastrophic
I would put it like that.
event,
Nigerians are not ready. Nigerians are not ready.
It's not only Nigeria. It's going to take something big to happen.
Wait. You spoke. Let him talk because he said something about President Mose and the assassination of Haiti. So I got to say something about this. So you said something about Haiti.
Go ahead. My bad.
He was taken out in Haiti, and there were barely anybody that was injured while he was getting taken out because people betrayed him. And this is what we do because when they give us money, we sell out because we don't understand that there are certain things that are beyond cash. Like the Russian guy was complaining that the Venezuelans sold their leader out because they just took bribe from Americans. That it was the American money that got the Venezuelan leader, not their military. So you can see that African leaders are easier to even bribe. Venezuelans they even have a stronger security posture. So you have to have people that understand the fundamentals of fighting for their own autonomy. If you don't have those and they don't succeed, then you have a big problem on your hand. Look at Sankara. He fell. The person that came after him didn't uphold anything that he stood for. Lumumba, the same thing. Kwame Nkrumah. Every time they fall, they don't have anybody that comes back to replace them because it's not deep. The people didn't buy into it, and we have to start. All the stuff we are doing is not useless. Let me just finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. What we are doing here is not entirely useless. What we are doing is we are all conscientizing ourselves to understand what is needed, and when the time comes, all of us that know these things, that's when we become active, and that's when our power will become magnified.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, boss, and this is what I gotta say to you. Like this thing called a Cold War and a hot war. A hot war is when people are fighting with you with guns and stuff coming at you, literally in your face. A cold war is when they fighting with you with other things. And we've been in a cold war with these fourth colonizers that turned into neo-colonizers. Now, what you're saying about President Moses, what a lot of people don't know about President Moses was that he was fighting for Haiti. What happened with President Moses was that it was exposed at the UN about how the UN was how certain nations were using the UN to destroy Haiti. So what happened was he reached out to Russia and China for help, and that's what got him assassinated. But the thing about President Moses also is he was working with nations in Africa. That's what people don't know. Because when he seen what he was doing, hey, wait,
That's the point I'm highlighting.
let me finish making my point. Let me
Hey,
finish making my point.
you got 20 seconds. I gotta pass it to V. You got 20 seconds.
Okay. What I want to say about that is basically what you were saying is francophone countries. France try to connect to Haiti because it's a francophone country through the language. That's how they colonized, and that's how they got ECOWAS. So what happened is President Moses he was working with them, and basically once the fact that France is still colonizing Africa after Haiti defeated them. That exposed a lot of stuff to them, and also the war on terror. Because what happened is Mali was the only nation standing fighting.
Oh yeah, I gotta pass it to V. Then we gotta close out. Go ahead, V.
So yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, V.
Yeah. I was going to respond to Niger, saying that when you had people like Nkrumah and Lumumba, and even recent history, Sankara taken out. The people that came in didn't do anything. The people that came in were the main instigators that took these people out. And their intent was to work for their colonial masters. So they did not have any intention of working for the people. And that was the whole reason why they took those men out. So it wasn't a case of they came in and they would not be able to do anything because they were puppets. I mean, look at somebody like Blaise Compaoré after Sankara. He was there. He had about over 20 years. What did he do? Burkina Faso apparently had a few intercity roads, like, from their main city, one city to the other. That was all they have in terms of tar roads. Vast majority of their roads were dirt roads. And now you have Ibrahim Traoré is they're building roads day and night. They are doing it. Some of them, they are on it even at night. It's the mindset of the people that came in after. They came in for a purpose, and they really did stick to it. We still have many of those around still. I can mention names, but you just look around and you can see them. They're not there for the well-being of their people. And one thing that the black man also have to understand is every black man that come out and wants to stand for their people, they're immediately seen as a threat. You are immediately seen. I don't understand that. Any society, they have their men will come out and stand and fight and do whatever they can to try and lift their people up. Any black man that comes up, either in Africa, wherever, immediately you are seen as a threat, and you need to be removed. And that is basically what they're trying to do to the people of the Sahel currently.
Yeah,
Dennis, my final thoughts on two sentences. Only two sentences.
No, we got to close out. Everyone, thanks so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dynasty Mirror Search for
Danful offers unparalleled, curated, and bespoke tours across Africa for travelers seeking genuine cultural experiences, enriched with magnificent sights, sounds, and flavors found on the continent. Each trip is reliably curated to ensure visitors are gifted with an immersive and authentic adventure. Whether you find yourself strolling along the charming white sand beaches of Sierra Leone, feasting on the mouth-watering delicious foods in Senegal, observing or partaking in various aspects of the Isheshe traditional system Ifa native to Yoruba land, Nigeria. With Danful, you will rediscover a fulfilling sense of kinship to the true heart of the motherland, her communities. Our core values focus on integrity, quality, safety, and sustainability. We are uniquely committed to assisting with the advancement of African infrastructure and promoting African businesses, so both travelers and the communities they visit receive beneficial exchanges. At Danful, we understand the importance of connectivity, and we have created a model which provides bespoke experiences based on your passions or hobbies. With us, expect a long-lasting spiritual bond between you and your destinations. Live, love, Danful, Africa. To learn more, visit danful.africa.